Hey everyone, welcome back to Italian Cinema Night here on the Bad Movie Night channel. And we drove into another classic?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did, AJ. The Red Queen kills 7 times.
7. Not 5 or 6,
7.
but 7.
I didn't count the kills in this movie, though, but I should have. I wonder if it does add up.
We got close. I think we got the 6.
6,
And then I
that
guess...
makes sense.
Yeah, I guess we hit 7.
Well, we'll unpack this. But... Red Queen kills 7 times. Well, what's it about and who directed it?
The Red Queen kills 7 times is from 1972. And it's directed by Emilio Miraglia.
Dice la leggenda che la Dama Rossa tornò a rivivere seminando il terrore. Uccise 6 persone innocenti. La 7ª fu la Dama Nera. La 7ª. Aiuto!
Perché hai tanta paura della polizia?
Ci sono già stati 5 omicidi e la maledizione vuole che sia io la 7ª vittima.
Yes, it is quite an interesting film. And
Yeah.
crazy plot. So I'm going to try to do a plot breakdown. And we'll see how this works. I probably won't hit on everything, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. There's a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so. All right, there's 2 siblings. We have Kitty and Evelyn. And the movie opens when they are children. And they're living with their grandfather in this castle. And the grandfather's name is Tobias. And one day they learn that there's a legend and that their family is cursed, supposedly from this legend. Every 100 years, one sister dies and returns to life, killing 7 persons, and the other sister is like her last victim, or something along those lines. When they are older, they have a disagreement, and Kitty accidentally kills Evelyn during a fight, which unravels a few times in the movie in interesting ways. However, the sister Francesca and her husband Herbert hide Evelyn's body in a room in a dungeon of the castle. And then they tell Tobias and the locals that Evelyn has moved to the United States of America to try to cover up their sister's crime. When Tobias has a heart attack and dies, the lawyer reads his will to Kitty, Francesca, and Herbert and explains that they have to wait exactly 1 year to collect their inheritance of his fortune. Kitty continues to work at the fashion design company where she is a photographer, and her boyfriend, Martin, is the vice president.
All in the first 10 minutes.
Meanwhile, a red-cloaked woman is on the loose, killing people, and kind of, in a way, pinning the blame in a certain way on the detective, on Kitty and Martin, so they look like that they are guilty. It is a wild movie.
Yes.
I don't think I even touched on everything, but that's kind of the plot.
You set up the premise of the movie, which, like I said, that's the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, and then the mystery starts to unfold, and even more different ways, and there's red herrings all over the place, and you don't know who did it.
There's a lot of
very
confusion
mysterious.
too, in the plot and storyline, and I think that might have been on purpose. I'm not 100% sure. So, the opening scene is the 2 sisters, and they're learning about the legend from the grandfather, and there's this
which was
crazy
great.
struggle.
I love the opening of this movie. Because when you you said this is what we're doing, I started watching it, and I texted you right away. I was like, the setting is fucking awesome. This castle they're in, it feels way more like a contemporary movie for the first 5 minutes where they're at this. It doesn't look like your normal Italian Giallo, is what I would say.
Yeah.
At least I didn't feel like it there.
It's interesting because I when researching a little bit of this, it's kind of like Gothic meets 1970s, and the Gothic tones that he uses in this, he uses in a lot of his other work. It's on purpose, which is cool.
Yeah, you have that castle with the dungeon, so Gothic, mixed with the photographer modern for 70s, modern building and styles and all that kind of stuff.
And you know what that reminded me of too? Like they're working at a fashion design house and studio. It was kind of like Blood and Black Lace.
Blood and Black Lace, yeah, I could see that.
Which is cool.
There's so many of these giallos. All the characters are these fashion chic, photographers or models. It's so it's so common in these kind of movies. But I guess because the storylines usually revolve around money in a lot of ways, and then that leads to murder and, affairs and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it makes sense to focus around like high society type people in these kind of movies.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, this was very confusing because when you're introduced to the two sisters and the grandfather, you slowly realize as you're watching the next 20 minutes that there's other grandchildren and family members. Like, I was lost. I was like, I thought early on that the two sisters were the same in the intro, and that's not the case. And it's like, there's actually like 4 people. Like, there's the 3 sisters, and then I guess the sister's fiance or husband. That's like
Herbert, the guy
family.
with the guy who has he stumbles when he walks or whatever. Yeah, I don't. I sometimes, like, when I was in the movie, I was like, which character is this? Because you have a lot of blonde young
like,
women, and it's like, all right, I'm trying to keep this straight. Like, there's just a lot there.
No, it's true, and it's not like to say anything, but a lot of the women look very similar, and like when they're this movie moves very quickly, and it's very easy to get lost in the characters.
So we can get more into the story, but where the story ends up, I have positives and negatives about it. Overall, I kind of really enjoyed this thing. I think there's a lot to like here. I really liked a lot of the visuals, which is a common thing we say about these giallos, but I just thought there was a lot of shots that were stylish, yet economical. For like, there's a scene where the guy pulls up to Kitty's house in his car, and it's framed really nicely, and it looks really great. And you're like, okay, this is just an establishing shot of him getting there. And he gets out and he walks in the house. But then the camera just ever so moves over. And there's a guy standing there behind the tree. And they don't like, it's not like a whole, like a newer movie probably would have had like 3 different angles of this whole thing. But this is like really economical. But then it also like reframed the whole scene in a completely different light and still kept a lot of style. That was awesome. So it felt like there's so much like thought going into all these shots.
Yeah, there was a lot of really cool stuff in it. I felt like there's a lot of echoes of like other classic Italian films. The locations were great. The costuming was really great because you're like one in a fashion design house. So everyone has like amazing outfits and like even like the Red Queen character with like the red robe.
That is so awesome. Cool. There's so many scenes with her like walking down these hallways, and she walks really fast, so it's like intimidating. But it looks so great. I love that visual so much.
It's cool. It's funny too. I was reading that there is a theory that from this movie, the Red Queen kills 7 times with the red robe and outfit, and that character arc, like that character type, is believed to have been taken from this movie and then put in Don't Look Now. Like, this came before that, and I think that red character with the coat and stuff was inspired.
The Donald Sutherland movie.
Yeah, to make that character, which I thought was pretty cool.
Huh. Okay, I don't remember exactly, but I'll have to go back and watch that movie.
Yeah, because that character, the character that runs around on the Merce that's a murderer, wears like a red cloak and outfit, and you can't see them, and they're just like this character in red all the time.
Yeah, so this movie opens, like we said, with introducing some supernatural elements, the Red Queen and the Black Queen, and they play with that color scheme a lot in ways where I thought it was hinting at something, and we'll get to that with some more spoilery stuff, because I do have an idea, just something to talk about with the ending in this movie. But there's other like moments in the middle where it becomes surreal, and there's an amazing shot of the Red Queen walking down the fashion building's long hallway, and she reaches the end, and Kitty is laying in bed, so it's like very surreal because she's obviously not really there, and then it's like this whole murder sequence, but it's all a dream, and it's just it's really cool. I
like stuff like that because it echoes like later 70s work, even with like Francis Ford Coppola, with like using visuals to like, you know, dream-esque, even like to like just put you in this different mind space of like feeling the character and what is happening. It's cool. It's you've seen like dream sequences in so many movies before, but in this it was so like, it's surreal, but it's also like matter of fact in a way where like a newer movie would have it be effects covered, you know what I mean? Like they would wake up and it's all smoky and blah blah blah, and it's like very obviously a dream. But this was just like this, she's walking down this hallway we recognize, she gets to the end, and the lady's just in a bed there, which obviously doesn't belong, and that's kind of like how I feel like a dream actually would be. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like
when I dream about things, it's all kind of grounded usually in a way. I don't dream of like a smoky, scary place like you see in other movies. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, it definitely had more grounded reality kind of settings. And that also reminded me a bit of like, what's it called? The Black Belly, the Tarantula. Like it does have a really grounded reality, which I liked a lot. It wasn't like so much, with a character like this, like a Red Queen running around, you can easily just go into like mysticism and more magical spaces,
You could have went into like, oh, it's all a supernatural ghost type thing, and they don't.
Yeah.
Which I did like. So, a couple things before we get to the end. This movie is, and a lot of these movies are, but it's very misogynistic.
Yes.
Very. In a way where, I mean, it's usually expected of the time, the kind of movie it is, but this was like different because the guy we're following along, who's being kind of blamed or is pinpointed for the murders, even though we know he's innocent, is like a womanizer. He's like, his wife is in a mental hospital and he's like cheating on her, and then he like cheats on his girlfriend again. And it's like, by the end of the movie, we're like supposed to be happy that like they saved the day or whatever. And I'm like, no, this guy's kind of a dick. So
classic Italian way, right? 1970s. Yeah, very much so.
You have. Yeah, I mean, then you got the typical damsels in distress all the time, but...
Yeah, lots of characters, lots of red herrings, lots of, like... Just lots of characters. I just kept, like, introducing... there were some really more... Like, I thought the character of the sleazy ex-boyfriend of Evelyn was a good one, like the drug addict who was kind of, like, seeding around the corners a lot.
Peter was good when we thought he was doing it all to blackmail her for money, which he does.
Yes.
But then in a scene, he like looks at her thigh, and then he like you see this look at his face, and he looks at her thigh again, and then it cuts back to him, and then he just starts molesting her, and it's like,
I didn't need that.
I don't know why that's in the movie, right? Like, because it doesn't.
Yeah, and then it's never addressed later.
Exactly. So it's like, so the storyline goes along, and you have red herrings, and what I did like about the end, before we like completely reveal it, is that like a lot of times these giallos become so convoluted by the ending that when they spill the beans, it's all like, I don't know what the fuck anything really just happened, but okay, I guess we're tying this all up somehow. It seems like a huge mess. Yeah. And they did that in this as well, but the movie kept going where they had a sequence where there was actual like peril to the main character. Yeah. So it felt like tensiony, and it felt like an actually climactic ending.
Yeah, and it was quite a interesting way to put someone in danger. I mean, they play up on this castle. Cool, right? They must have like had this location before writing this, because like how else would you come up with something? But anyways, just like spoiler alert, they decide to end this movie with the dungeon scenario where they trap Kitty in the dungeon and they flood it from the aqueduct, so the moat that surrounds the castle. It's pretty cool. So there's this whole water sequence that's really just like they must have done it on a tank on like a lot.
It looked dangerous too, honestly.
Yeah,
just like actors falling and stuff.
Right? It's like, that's what I was thinking. There's all this furniture flowing down and people. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. But it did really enhance the ending for me, where it felt like the movie was, like peaking.
Yeah, which was nice. It was cool to have something like that, like something a little bit more building of an ending.
Yes. I think the rationalization for everything, where there's actually Evelyn is a different person because the real Evelyn was switched out at birth or something for this. And it's all like, so then the technicality is, oh, actually Evelyn is alive the whole time, but the character they think died as Evelyn was actually this other person that was adopted from the beginning. So like, but that's such a cop-out. It's like such a cop-out, because you could never guess that.
And it's hard enough, there's so many children already, like we don't have to like make it more complicated.
Here's what I thought was happening, and if I would remake this movie, what I would do. Okay. It might be tropey, but this whole movie revolves around Kitty, who's the one, the main character who did kill Evelyn as a kid, or whatever was Evelyn. Yeah. So she kills somebody, and she thinks they buried her in the basement. Yes. And now this curse is happening. And there's so many times, I remember a very specific sequence where, I don't remember the guy's name, but he comes over to Kitty's apartment, and she's laying on the bed, and she's got either a red or black miniskirt on and a red shirt. And I was like, oh, this is what's happening. Kitty is actually having some sort of psychosis, and she is actually the Red Queen killing everyone, but she doesn't realize it.
That would be cool.
I thought that would have been great, and because the whole movie kind of revolves around all these characters in her life being picked off.
Yeah, they do that a lot. I remember like when Lulu's introduced later and is like pressing, what's his name? Is it Martin?
I think it's something like that.
Well,
Herbert Martin.
When Lulu's pressing him, he notices the necklace that she's wearing matches on the photo of the child, and that was like another throw. And then Lulu's killed off, and I'm just like, come on, like.
And they do that a lot, though. Like, there's characters who are like, oh, I know something, and then literally 12 seconds later, she's being stuffed into a van. And
let's talk about that scene. That was ridiculous. The van scene. She gets stuck in there like her own van. Driven off down the countryside, murdered in the countryside after leaving the city, and then everyone shows up like 2 minutes later. So
literally everyone, everyone who would have no idea. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Was the car hijacked? Like, and everyone knew that? Like, it didn't make sense. There's some
it
weird
seems
stuff
very
like
convenient. Yeah, but you have that one death where the guy Peter gets stuck in the car and she's dragging him along the street.
That was cool.
It's like that one Argento movie. But it was violent and it was really cool. I like that scene.
Yeah, there is some like echoes of that stuff, and some of the violence was pretty like violent at times. Like when the wife who's in the mental asylum falls onto the fence, and like that's pretty gory. And even some of the cutscenes, like when she's dreaming and she gets stabbed by the knife, blood just squirts out everywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I wish it wasn't so convoluted. Like I seriously do think like at some points the convoluted nature just kind of kills the story. Yeah. And I was actually really pretty invested in the story for a while until it got to that reveal. And I liked like how they revealed it and how like Francesca like stabbed the guy. Mm-hmm. Like I liked that how it played out, but it was like the explanation was just a little too much for me. I think.
It was over the top, and even at the end, like prior to like Herbert shooting her, and like it was just like it was like, well, okay, I guess Herbert.
Dude, Herbert like straight up caps her like it's. He's just like
I know. That's like, dude,
I'm like, dude, Herbert, what are you
like
doing?
In a relationship with her.
It was his wife. She literally, it was, I guess because she was like, I want to leave him or something anyways. So he's like, all right. And then he just kills her there. It was just ridiculous.
Oh, man. It was a fun movie, though. I liked it. I liked this one a lot. And I liked it enough that I really want to see the one he made before this, which looks amazing. It's called The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, which looks really gothic and really, like, spooky. And I think that's going to be a fun one to watch, too. And yeah. It was just interesting, like, researching this director. Like, he's very, like, unknown. There's nothing about him. Really? People like admire his stuff greatly, but there's really little known about this guy. He's like a mystery. Like he made this movie in his late 60s. Like he was old, and he was like a B movie director. Like he did a lot of like second camera stuff, and he's only made like 4 or 5 movies, but they're all like supposedly really great films. So
it is a really competently made movie. I think it's really well shot. There's some times where I think Kitty goes back to the castle and there's like this really wide shot from the interior where the lights like beams are like through it and she walks through them. It just looks so good.
Yeah.
And I like the music quite a bit in this movie as well.
Yeah, Bruno Nicolai again. I mean, we keep getting more of his stuff. He's quite the composer. You know, he worked with Ennio Morricone kind of like under him, but then he kind of like, they also like apparently bounced off ideas a lot. They're like close friends. It's pretty cool.
He does... He's not a Morricone, but he's kind of like, you know what I mean? He's like a B Morricone, but you can hear the inspiration in a lot of the work.
Sure, yeah, definitely. And he's done, I mean, we've been watching a number of movies, like what did we watch last week? The Scorpion Style, he did the music for that too. Like,
yeah, I think this was better. I liked it better. I like the music in this. This was a fun one, and it's a pretty brisk movie for the most part, and it's available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So I liked it.
Yeah, I recommend it. I think it's a great movie. Check it out. It's very unique in the way that they blend these like
genres.
And like the gothic and modernism and like, the thriller together. It's cool. Like I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I recommend it definitely. The Red Queen kills 7 times.
So until next time.